Linens of the Week, Amano, Georgetown Cupcake, Prairie Capital, the Loyal Friends of Georgetown, Rachel Pearson Associates, and anybody else who wants to be a sponsor, we'd love to have you. And I'm especially happy to welcome the Bradlee Quinn family, the Quinn Bradlee family. Any way you want to put it together, we've got Ben Bradlee, Quinn Bradlee, and Sally Quinn. And we're going to talk about your book, A Different Life. And I don't usually just start with the book like this, but I was very interested reading your blog these last few days. And you've been on the book circuit for a while.
Yeah, I have.
And that's something else, isn't it?
It's been pretty busy, but I like it.
I was very taken by something you said where you were yearning for isolation.
Yes, it's. I never realized going on a. I don't think most people realize what they're getting themselves into when they write a book. I certainly didn't, and I kind of want to.
And your parents didn't clue you in?
A little bit, but not a whole lot. But I've been on the weekends. I've sort of been hibernating in my little cave at home, and I just for a couple of weeks. And I think this happens to everybody after you do something like this. You don't really want to be around people. for the next 2 weeks or so.
But
no matter how much I love people.
Except today. Yeah. Well, today you're definitely around people, or they're around you. Well, I mean, we should probably start at the beginning, which really starts with the two of you, because this is a special day, right? This is your birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does not go unnoticed here at the Q&A Cafe. So that makes it, I mean, there's no mother who doesn't remember that. I've always felt birthdays are as much for us as our children, but and the dads too.
Yes.
But the moms are paying. But why don't the three of you, or especially the two of you, take us back to that day? What, 27 years ago?
27 years ago.
27 years ago. You can choose the parent you'd like to hand the mic to.
Do you want to start, Dad?
No. Well, I mean, there's not much to tell except that I was quite old when Quinn was born. I was over 60, and it was quite stunning to have a little squirmy baby boy again after all those years, and
in every way, a perfectly normal baby.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely so, and well, except he had a hole in his heart.
Did you know that immediately? I mean, that wasn't the...
3 months after he was born, he went to Children's Hospital.
Right,
and they
but that first day, that first few weeks, it was just the happiest days of your life.
Well, yeah, except he was silent. He was a totally silent child, as I remember him. He didn't... You went into the hospital, and every other little
baby was
crying, and Quinn was sort of glum and looking at you like this.
Yeah. Why don't you hand Sally the mic?
Yeah, she's better at it.
Well, you were all there.
Very gentle.
It's not a competition.
It was a more momentous event for me. Ben already had 3 children, grown children.
Exactly.
And it was my first child, and I was 3 weeks late, and it was the happiest day of my entire life.
Except you actually wanted a girl.
I started.
Well, you solved that.
I came out and I ruined everything.
Well, I actually had told Quinn that one of the reasons I wanted a girl was to have somebody to hang out with on the weekends, because Ben was always watching football, and if I had a daughter, then I'd have somebody to hang out with.
Right.
But then what happened was that Ben and Quinn started watching football, and I got to have the weekend to myself, so it turned out much better. But anyway, he was born. He was gorgeous, and
obviously.
When Ben says silent, actually, that was a good thing, because all the nurses called him Mr. Mellow in the hospital, because he would just sit there with his wide eyes looking around when all the other babies were screaming their lungs out, and he was a fabulous baby. But with the second day, his pediatrician found a hole in his heart. And we went immediately to Children's Hospital, and we were told that he had a heart defect, but that oftentimes it would close up. And as it turned out, a month later he went into heart failure. And so we were then in Children's Hospital for 3 months. They were trying to build him up his strength, because they didn't think that he would survive the surgery, because the hole was so large. So we were there for 3 months, and then we did open heart surgery.
Was he
and
living at the hospital?
He,
all
he
this
lived.
time?
Well, yes, he and I both lived at the hospital for 3 months.
That's an enormous trauma.
It was unbelievable,
You know.
and I would come home to change
Mm-hmm.
my clothes, and Ben would come over after work. Ben actually was in a trial. The Washington Post was being
Right.
sued by this man named Tabula Reyes, and the
We
trial
won.
went on from the day Quinn had from the day he went into heart failure,
Right.
until the day he had surgery. Ben had to be at the courthouse all day, every day, and then he would come to the
And then
hospital.
when he wasn't at the hospital and being in court, he was still running the Washington Post.
Right, he was
So-
exactly,
Sort of,
yeah,
yeah.
he was
Sort
running
of,
the Washington.
yeah.
It was a very stressful time.
Stressful
And the
time.
day that Quinn had heart surgery was the day.
In any way,
Actually, not too much.
really. But your voice is much more in there now, don't
Well,
you?
it obviously has, but in a lot of ways, it's still the same as it was. You know, some things have changed, and to be honest with you, I can't really. There's something in the air that has changed, and I don't know exactly what it is, but you can feel it. It's something that you can't really pinpoint.
You feel inside yourself.
Yeah, I do.
Does it
I
feel
can
like
feel
a confidence?
the confidence. I can feel there's some kind of energy that I can feel around this family that has changed.
Right.
And I think it will never be the same as it was before I wrote the book, because, you know, they said I'd never be able to, you know, graduate high school, go to college, have any friends.
The doctor said that, not
doctor.
Yeah.
Not the
And,
parents.
But you feel like you feel like an equal to your parents more, perhaps.
it's always been, I've always felt not pressured by them that I'd ever live up to
Not
their
from them.
expectations. But at the same time, I tell people, sometimes people ask me, is it hard coming from the family that you come from? Because it's not just them, it's, you know, my grandfather and
Right.
so on.
Lots of hard work.
Yeah, and
lots of success.
Her father was a retired 3-star general who went to West Point.
Lots of power.
And it's great. It's hard because some people think that it's hard for me because I have to live up to that expectation. But it's great because I'm lucky enough to be able to get the resources that I need to help me proceed in life.
I want to go back to your parents then again, because I want to go back to a moment in the book that I personally just found very traumatic. Was you're at the lab school and you still don't know what's wrong. You know something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. And I guess it was a phone call you got from a therapist who said that your son is retarded.
Well,
There's-
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
you
quite
hand the
like
mic to your mom.
Yeah, no, what happened was that he'd been seeing a therapist, and she tested him, and she called us in to tell us the results of the test, and she said that he's essentially retarded, and he was at the lab.
Was that the first time the word had been
Yes.
used?
And that she had actually made reserved a place for him at an institution called Ivy Mount. And that she said he will never go to high school, he will never have a job, he will never have friends, he will never have a relationship, he essentially will not have a life. And Quinn was about 8 then.
Right.
And Ben literally had to carry me out of there. I mean, I didn't stop crying for about 3 days.